Folks, one of the best wins, one of the most enjoyable wins that we had as gun owners last year in Washington D.C., besides stopping all of Joe Biden's agenda in the Senate, was crushing David Chipman. I mean, the guy just has the kind of face you just want to punch. He's just a power-hungry madman tyrant who wanted to put us all in prison. And so watching his nomination collapse, it was a beautiful thing last year. But if we thought that Joe Biden was just going to, call it quits and not have a director for the ATF, I have some bad news for you, because Joe Biden, according to many sources on Capitol Hill, is days away from choosing Steve Dettelbach as his new nominee to run the ATF. Now, here's the backdrop on this. And before I get into that, if you're low on time today, if you're pressed for time, whatever else you do, hit the link below. Hit the petition and tell Senators Grassley and Ernst to vote no on Steve Dettelbach. If it's all the time you have, hit that link and take action right away. If you have some more time, here's the backstory. So the White House realizes that they went way too far in trying to please Michael Bloomberg and their radical left base when it came to David Chipman. The guy just made you enraged looking at his face, right? So their hope this time is to choose a similar, gun grabber, but not a guy who draws such a visceral reaction from gun owners. This is Steve Dettelbach. So goofy, weird grin, kind of a goofy, geeky looking guy next to our supposedly vice president, Kamala Harris, one of the biggest political prostitutes in American history. But this is Stephen Dettelbach, big goofball. That's how he presents. Whereas Chipman came across like an absolute arrogant ass, this guy comes across like a big, dumb, just a geek who is not a real threat to gun owners. That is their goal. That is the plan they have hatched, is to have this guy present as a normal guy and sneak him in to run the ATF. But the truth about Steve Dettelbach is he is a radical leftist who many are saying this guy may be more against gun owners than even David Chipman was when he ran for this position last year. Here's the deal. Stephen Dettelbach was a U.S. attorney under the Obama administration. Got a photograph here somewhere. Here we go. Dettelbach was a U.S. attorney under President Obama for those 8 years in Ohio. He was a U.S. attorney. And after Obama lost, Dettelbach ran to be the attorney general in Ohio. And so he spent a year on the campaign trail. And so during that time, his views on your gun rights became very well known. Here's what we know for sure about Dettelbach. Number one, he absolutely wants to have a national gun owners registry through universal background checks. In other words, if you sell or give or transfer a firearm to a friend, to a grandson, anybody, anywhere, without having government permission first, you would be facing felony charges if Dettelbach had his way. That's a given. Universal background checks, aka National Gun Registry, felonies for gun owners. Number two, he absolutely backs a ban on AR-15s and every other style of similar semi-automatic firearm. This is one of the main goals, obviously, of Joe Biden right now in Washington, D.C. It's Senate Bill 736, and it makes it a felony for you to buy any one of hundreds of different styles of semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. They want you in prison for buying those. That includes Dettelbach. Number three, he is a big proponent of putting more misdemeanor convictions on the NICS prohibited persons database system. This has been a major push for gun grabbers for a long time. The standard has always been felony convictions, no guns. Misdemeanor convictions does not come into play. But Dettelbach wants to change all that. And he wants certain types of misdemeanor offenses to be grounds for you and I to lose our gun rights for a lifetime. And if we go down that road, if we open up that Pandora's box, there's going to be millions of Americans who can own guns these days who would be barred if Dettelbach had his way as director of ATF. I mean, Look, not every person who has a misdemeanor conviction is a great person. I'm not saying that. But there's a reason why we have felony convictions and misdemeanor convictions. These are not all the same thing. That's why that threshold has always been felony convictions. You can't own a firearm. If we deviate from that, that will never end, and we'll have more and more and more misdemeanors added to that list. It's a guarantee. And finally, Dettelbach, we know for sure, is a huge proponent of red flag gun seizure laws. He doesn't use that terminology, but he is very clear. He thinks people that have mental health difficulties should be disarmed, period. Not if they're adjudicated defective, mind you, just if you have mental health difficulties. And that's the problem we have today. These terms are so broad, they're so wide. No one knows what that means. But here's what we know. Right now in America, it's already a crime to own a firearm if you have been adjudicated mentally defective. That means in court with a lawyer present, having a chance to confront witnesses, making your own defense. In those situations, if you are still adjudicated defective, you lose your gun rights. That's one thing. But the big push, as you all know, in D.C. has been for years to move from adjudication to declaration. So if someone simply declares you defective, maybe it's a mental health staffer, maybe it's a nurse, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's some judge. If they simply declare you defective or declare you prohibited with no due process, with no judge and jury, so to speak, with no right to defend yourself in court, that becomes abject tyranny, and we all know that. That is exactly what Steve Dettelbach supports. He is every bit the enemy to gun owners and more that David Chipman ever was. Again, this is who he worked for 8 years. This is the kind of guy he is, a radical leftist who wants to crush our gun rights. When he ran for AG in Ohio in 2018, he had this guy's endorsement. Crazy old former vice president of the United States, Joe Biden, it says right there. So that's the kind of company he keeps. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. Oh, and let's not forget, he worked for this guy, Eric Holder, the guy who armed the Mexican drug cartels under Operation Fast and Furious, got American Border Patrol agent Brian Terry murdered, and hundreds, thousands even now, of Mexican citizens and Mexican police officers died, murdered with those same firearms. Steve Dettelbach is exactly part of this whole cabal of gun grabbers who think that we should all be more or less put in prison for owning any modern firearms. That is the kind of guy Dettelbach is, and that is why Joe Biden is about to, rumors or sources tell us, about to name him as the new director of the ATF. But again, he can name whoever the heck he wants, but he has to be confirmed by the Senate first. And that's why it's essential that you pound that link beneath this video and tell Grassley and Ernst to vote no on Steve Dettelbach. I don't care how goofy his stupid grin is. We care about his views on our Second Amendment freedoms. And this guy's views are in lockstep with Joe Biden, lockstep with David Chipman, which is we shouldn't have any gun rights, and damn sure we shouldn't have any modern firearms like an AR-15. And so Grassley and Ernst have to hear from gun owners right away. We'll give some credit. They heard from you. They heard from us when it came to Chipman, and they held the line, and they were both no votes, and we appreciate that. They heard from you again on Ketanji Brown, whatever her name is, the new Supreme Court justice, and they voted no on that as well. But many times in the past, we have had nothing but problems with Grassley and Ernst. They were the leaders. Joni was certainly on VAWA, the domestic violence bill that passed into law recently, chock with multiple pieces of gun control. They were both a yes vote on that. And they were both a yes vote, I believe. Certainly Grassley was on the $1.9 trillion budget expansion that Joe Biden had recently, where they tucked that VAWA gun control language inside of. So sometimes they're with us, sometimes they're against us. Frankly, as Iowans, we deserve better than that. This is Iowa. We want We want far right wing, red, conservative Republican representation in Washington, D.C. It shouldn't be such a lift every single time trying to get them to do the right thing on these nominees, but it is. So, guys, hit the link below, fire off the petition, and tell Joni Ernst and Chuck Grassley to vote no on Steve Dettelbach as the new ATF nominee, guys. Much more information to come after you sign your petition. You're going to go to a confirmation page and give them the chance to donate. Please do so. I mean, a lot of folks that don't know about Dettelbach, we have to get the word out to them as fast as we can. Your gifts help us do that. Please be generous. And again, guys, share our videos far and wide. We'll keep you informed. Take care.